So at the start of our practice, the reminder, our posture, which we're always working on. So to allow spine to grow, lift your shoulders up. Just that familiarity and lifting right to the crown of your head. And then slide them back and down and just close your eyes. So as we're sitting tall, it's the nourishment of your breath. Sometimes, as you know, as our breath shortens, our spine starts to round. So with your next in-breath, lift your shoulders up again. So you're filling all four sides of your torso. Slide them back and descend down. I want you to turn your palms up. So the back of your hands will be resting onto your knees. And just the start of our practice together is the growing of our breath, the slowing down of whatever had sped up this morning. And the awareness. Breathe in. Your breath grows deep. Breathe out. Your breath grows slow. And in so breathing in, knowing you're breathing in. Breathe out, emptying all. Breathing in, I feel calm. Breathing out, feel ease. Breathe in, I feel a smile. Breathe out, feel the release. Breathe in and dwell in the present moment. Breathe out, knowing a wonderful moment, a wonderful place. And then gently turn your hands, your palms are onto your knees. And again, lift your shoulders up. And then your shoulder blades slide down the back of your ribs. So I'll get you to take your right hand and place your right hand onto your shoulders. Our gardening busyness, a little bit of tightness. So with your fingertips, I just want you to massage the tightness, the connection of your neck to your shoulders, not your shoulder blades, but right that top seam. And sometimes the tightness is a little closer towards your shoulder, or maybe perhaps a little bit higher at the back of your neck. So in doing so, your left ear is down. And just find that tight spot, a little circular movement. Just remember, we're all sitting tall, bottom tips of shoulder blades down. And then let's change sides. So just the settling of your right hand, left fingers onto your left crease, the connection of your neck, muscles across the top of your shoulders. And again, find that really tight spot. And any adjustment you need to do with the position of your chin. Sort of blends together the comfort of this and also the awareness of maybe that tightness that's there. And then take your hand back down onto your knees. Just a little bit of movements of your shoulders. So slide up towards your ears and down. Just the lovely circles, putting a little bit of movement into the muscles. And then bring them back to stillness. And we're going to warm our spine up with cat and cow. So you choose the movement. So on your in-breath, I want you to lift your chest forward and up, maybe your chin floating. And then on your exhale, draw your chin towards your chest. Your shoulder blades will slide apart, your belly button towards your spine. And then just the rhythm of your breath, the rhythm of the movement of your body. And just enjoy this lovely movement. Any variation need be for the lumbar part of your spine, your shoulder blades. And just listen. Perhaps there's more movement of your chest forward and back. Or maybe more movements with your belly button forward and back. And just find that movement. Puts the juice into those joints. At the end of your next exhale, releasing that breath, on your in-breath, bring yourselves back to center and verticalness. From here, I want you to lay down onto your back. So lying onto your back, if you have a blanket, sometimes it's nice to have the blanket behind the back of your head or just beside your mat. And just roll down onto your back. And then as you lay onto your back, draw your knees in towards your chest and just give yourselves a little hug. Give in a little bit of rocking side to side. Just sort of notice that whole surface of the back of your body onto your mat. Keep your left knee into your chest and place your right foot down, but keep your right knee bent. And then with the assistance of your hands, just moving of your knee in a lovely circular movement. So your hands can be on towards the front of your knee, or your hands perhaps the back of your thigh, depending on how happy your knees are in bending. And change direction, the circular direction. It's that movement, the thigh bone into your hip socket. Change directions forward and back. Just whichever movement need be to loosen it up. And then change sides. So placing of your foot down, and this time your right knee into your chest, your hands on the back of your thigh or on towards your shin. And again, that movement. So you're keeping your left knee bent. Just allows more settling of the lower back. Just sort of find whichever position is right. And these circles can be big circles, or perhaps a little bit smaller, depending on how happy your hips are this morning or most days. And then place your foot down. So as we've done before, take your left knee in to your chest and interweave your fingers behind the back of your thigh and start to straightening of your left leg. Okay. So it might be completely straight. There might be a gentle bend. So just sort of find a position that's comfort. And just sort of encouraging your thigh towards your chest, but at the same time, your heel up to the sky. So it's a balance of drawing in and lengthening up. And then interweaving your fingers and take your fingertips and give a little massage. Those muscles across the back of your thighs. Actually, it's even nice taking your thumbs onto the front of your thighs. And so we're feeling the tightness on the front and the back of your upper leg. And then just take your arms up. So your fingers travel to give your calf a little massage. Your thumbs on towards your shin. Let's loosen our muscles up. And then let's change sides. So place your left foot down and draw your right knee into your chest. Now, interweave your fingers the funny way behind the back of your leg and slowly encourage the growing of your leg up. So as your foot is flexed, your heel towards the sky, a little bit of lengthening the back of your calf, and encouraging the expansion of the back of your knee. So your leg might not be straight, but just encouraging that lifting. First one of the day, so there's the encouragement, but kindness. And then with the fingers, that's right. The thumbs onto your thighs, fingers onto your hamstrings. And then your hands take a little journey wherever is the tightness, perhaps up towards your toes, knee bent as need be. Just like the massaging of the neck, finding that tight spot that just needs a little bit more encouraging. And then lower your right leg down. And actually lower your legs right down to the mat. So almost as if you were standing tall. So in doing so, your legs are activated. And so in doing so, your feet are staying flexed. Your arms down by your side, as if we were in mountain pose. Okay. So the whole surface of the back of your hands onto the floor. Maybe walk your shoulder blades a little closer together to have the broadness across your chest. Full, complete breath in. Breathe into all four sides of your torso. And a sigh upon your exhale. Keep your legs long and grounded, but lift your arms up to the sky. So your fingers pointing up, and as you know, the top of your arm bones settle down. On your next in-breath, extend your arms back, right behind you, like the morning stretch. Perhaps your thumbs will reach down towards the floor, or maybe just a little floating out. Just getting more of a reaching and lengthening. And then draw your arms back up to vertical. Palms together. And down to heart center. Arms down by your side. Now this time I want you to lift your right arm up to vertical and continuing of your right arm extended behind you. We're going to do a little bit of core. So keep your body long and strong. And on your exhale, you take your left knee to your right elbow. So just as we do as we're kneeling usually. So you got that full compression, use one of your core. And then on your inhale, lower your leg down and continue to extend your right arm away. Let's do it again. On your exhale, compression. In-breath, lengthening. One more time. Drawing everything in. Keep your elbow and your knee together. Maybe your nose towards your knee. Really activating your core. Keep your right leg activated, long and lowered. And then on your in-breath, lower your leg down. And actually take both of your hands to just rest by your side. Give a little shaking of your shoulders. And then we'll change sides. So this time the lifting of your left arm and reaching of it back. Keep your body long, activated on your in-breath. And on your exhale, take your elbow and your knee together. So we're crossing compression. Then in-breath, lower your leg down, straightening of it as your fingers reach behind you. And then that slow exhale. The support of the mat behind you, but the activated of your core. Let's all lengthen out, long, lean. more compression. Hold everything together. Everything together. See if you can still draw a complete breath in. And on your exhale, just lower down. Arms rest by your side. I'm going to get you to now bring yourselves into sitting upright. So you can rock yourselves forward or back, or roll over onto your right side and your left hand presses you down. So you'll be sitting facing towards the front of the mat, and I want you to cross your opposite shin in front of the other. So again, if it's better with your legs extended forward, you can do that. If you're sitting upright, opposite shin, take both of your hands, scoop the strength of your buttocks back, tilt your hips forward. And a little rolling. Beautiful. Softly close your eyes and lift your shoulders up. And then drifting down. Place your left hand down onto your mat and your right fingers onto your shoulder. Lift your elbow up and do a little side lean. So with your fingers, your left fingers walk away as you lean towards the side. Now I want you to firmly press down into your left hand to encourage that lengthening. Your fingers can stay onto your shoulder or maybe out towards the side. So you got that extension lengthening. Have a little peek up. So as you're doing so, your ribs, left side of your ribs will scoop under. And then we'll change sides. And this time, left fingers onto your shoulder. Right hand walks away and then planting down all four sides of your palm and then lifting of your elbow up. And you choose. You can be happy just nest it onto your shoulder or maybe extend. Whichever way you do it, just make sure that your left hip stays grounded. And your breath. On your next in-breath, bring yourselves back to sitting tall. A little bit of movement. So keeping your legs, whichever position that they are, I want you to pivot over towards the right and place your fingertips on opposite sides. So you'll have your chest bone above your right thigh. And then I just want you to walk your fingers forward and your head to settle down. So this lovely opening. So even as your palms press down, it encourages your left sitting bone to stay grounded, head to hang. Walk your hands back to bring yourselves into sitting upright. And then we'll change sides. So first start with your fingertips pressing down to encourage yourselves to sit tall. And then placing your palms down, softly walk forward. Your breath. Allow your breath to be deep. And your out breath to be complete. And then walk your hands back in to bring yourselves back to sitting tall. And take your feet forward, keeping your knees bent. And we're just going to wrap your shins or your forearms around your shins and your head to hang. And it's nice sometimes giving your head a little shake. So the opening of the length of the back of your spine, and just choose how far you fold forward, but holding on to your opposite wrist, just gives a little bit of support. And then I'll get yourselves to come to upright. And we're going to go into table pose. So table pose is kneeling onto your mat. Now, with this happy blanket, if your knees are not as happy directly down onto the mat, you can have them onto your mat, or you can fold it in half and just have your shins onto the blanket so that there's no weight on towards your shins. And we'll take ourselves into this lovely table pose. So in doing so, as you know, your arms are vertical. Eyes closed. Breathe in. Allow your breath to be pure. And breathe out. And your breath is complete. I want you now to extend your left leg behind you, keeping the ball of your foot down. So it's sort of a start with the extension of the calf. So your hands pressing down all four sides of your palms. Palms press down towards the mat and encourage your heel, or your hands press down onto the mat yet, and your heel towards the back of the mat. So even though you're stretching with your calf, I still want your thighs activated to encourage your leg to stay straight and long. Now keep your left leg straight, but lift it up halfway. So this is lifted up halfway. It looks like your toes are pointed down. So as your leg is horizontal, your arms stay vertical. From here, you can keep your weight onto both hands equally or extend your opposite arm forward. So now if you've extended your arm forward, I want your back leg as horizontal and strong as your front arm. Okay. So activating of your core. You can always keep both hands down if you're feeling the discomfort onto your shoulder or it's a little bit wobbly, but really fire yourselves up. And then whichever variation that you're at, see if you can close your eyes. So take the front of your body to the back of your body to give that stillness and support through your torso. Place your hand down, place your knee down, and take your left hand and scoop it behind your right. So we're giving ourselves a little bit of an arm thread the needle. So if you have a firm block, your head can rest onto the firm block. And a little bit of almost pulsing of your hand just to put that support movement back into your wrist. And then let's change sides. So take yourselves the foundation of a basic table pose. And I want you, with your right leg long, place the ball of your foot down. So you're stretching your calf as you've done on the other side. So keep your arms strong and long, and it's almost like a mirror. Your leg is extended back and long, but also strong. And then how's your breath? The breathing in, and breathing in to fill right to the top, and breathing out. Allow your breath to be complete and out. That rhymes. Sorry. Now, keep your arms rooted down and lift your leg up to horizontal. Okay, so just the settling and lengthening of the front of your body. And either keeping both of your palms down or extending your opposite arm forward. So often there's a little bit of a wobbling, so fire it up. So you're charging from your belly button forward to the tips of your fingers as well as back towards the sole of your foot. And you can choose to keep your eyes open or closed, hands down or up. Now remember to breathe. Breathing in. I know I'm breathing in. Breathe out. I know I'm breathing out. If not already, place your hand down. Lower your leg down, knees bent, and we're going to thread the opposite. So take your right hand, thread it underneath your left, and head to hang. And just as you did on the other side, your arm that threaded under, give a little pulsing of your fingers. Just get the movement through the wrists. And then bring yourselves back into the lovely table pose. And in table pose, just sway your hips side to side. Now, I didn't say this before, just a reminder, you can always go on towards your knuckles if your wrists aren't as happy in this pose. Even a little bit of bend. Actually, let's do a little body dance. So sway your hips side to side, perhaps the bending of your elbows, forward, back, side to side. And then just bring yourselves back to center. So we're going to travel from here into a downward facing dog. So we'll go step by step. First, tuck your toes under and bring your arms forward. Now, we've done this before. If it's uncomfortable on your wrists, you can take your hands onto your firm blocks to give a little bit more height. Your call. Arms are strong. Fingers pressing down, and take your sitting bones back towards your heels. Keeping of your arms long and strong, take yourselves up and back into downward dog. Now, variations, you can always take your feet a little farther forward so that there's less weight onto your hands. You can also generously bend your knees. Shake, shake. You go for a little bit of a walk. And starting as your head hangs down. Your arms are near your ears are near your upper arms, but not hugging in, just keeping that alignment. See if you can even have equal lengthening of the front and the back of your neck. Now from here, walk your hands back towards your feet. As you're folded forward at the back of the mat, hold on to opposite elbows. And the first time, I want everybody to take your elbows onto your lower thighs. So you got that support. And just softly stay folded forward. The support of your forearms onto just above your knee just allows the ease and the lengthening of your spine. And just the awareness for any option in the future, if it feels better this way, just take this variation. Now place your hands onto your hips. And keep your knees just gently bent. And hinge yourselves to standing upright. Arms down by your side. Give yourselves a little shake, shake. We're going to take ourselves into mountain pose. So mountain pose is to have your feet nicely planted down, hip distance apart, like your toes are pointing forward. Arms hang down by your side. And then as before, to encourage lengthening the spine, lift your shoulders up, allow your ribs to follow up, up, and then softly slide down. So as your hands hang down, just gently turn your palms forward. Eyes can be a soft gaze down or your eyes closed. Just see if you can have that equal lengthening of the front and the back of your neck. Mountain pose. It's called Tadasana. Okay. And then just softly open your eyes. So the awareness of balance. I want you to see if you can flare your toes apart. Have your knees just gently bent. And take your arms out to the side. So again, find a focal spot onto your mat. And I want you to lift your heels up. So just so your heels will be just floating. Okay, your ankles will be moving a lot. But see if you can bring that stillness. And lower your heels down. Bring yourselves back to standing tall. And then we're going to do the same. This time, maybe take your heels a little higher up. So as you're doing so, I always want your tailbone descending down towards the mat, the crown of your head up. Then lower your heels down. Just lower your arms down, give a little shake, shake. I'm going to do it again. So arms out to the side, toes planted down, and lifting of your heels. It's the balance. And see how high your heels can lift. So your thighs and your calves have to be activated. We gave them a massage now. You're awareness of them. Activate them. And then lower your heels down and drop your arm. And I'll get you to just walk forward towards the front of the mat. So again, with a little bit of balance, I want you to pick your left leg. So you have your arms by your side or a bit more to horizontal and I want you to slowly lift your left knee up. So it can be just softly hovering off the mat or growing up, and take your ankle and see if you can move it in a clockwise position. So you have that releasing to your ankle, but as you know, the strength, not just through your standing leg, but also your leg that's lifted and bent. And then lower your leg down. Shake your knees. And I'll change side. So look forward. Find something to focus on that's still. Arms to whichever position and lift your opposite knee up. And then again, clockwise, a little bit of movement. And are we breathing? Full breath in. Let's actually have a sigh on the exhale. And then lower your foot down, your arms down. Now we're going to do it the opposite way. So you have to think about this one. Activate strength, balance, and our mind. I want you to lift your left heel up so it's towards your buttocks. Okay. So you might want to have your hand on a wall nearby. Now with your knee bent, your heel near your sitting bone, see if you can move your wrist or your ankle in a counterclockwise direction. So both of your legs are activated, standing strong, lifting full. And then lower your foot down. Give your legs a little shake, shake, and we'll change sides. So before we do anything, big breath in, full sigh out. And let's change sides. So lift your opposite heel up towards your buttocks, ankle counterclockwise. Arms, whichever position. Other choose some furniture or a wall, out towards the side. So even though you have the balance on one ankle, you've got that strength and active through from the sole of your foot right up towards the crown of your head. And then lower your foot down, arms down, a little shake, shake. So as the sun is shining today, I thought we'll do a sun salutation, just to put that movement and enjoying our sunshine. So on your in-breath, lift your arms right up to the sky. And on your exhale, I want you to swan dive down. So your arms out, your hands traveling down, again, onto your thighs or maybe your shins. And on your in-breath, lift up halfway. Your spine is horizontal. And with the sigh, just melt back down. 2 more times. In-breath, support of hands to legs, half lift. And then melt down. Give your head a little shake, shake. In-breath, hands to legs, breath full, shoulders back, half lift up. And then exhale down. Place your hands onto your mat and walk your feet back to take yourselves into a plank pose. Now in plank pose, you can have your knees down. So you've got this extension. With everybody, shift your weight forward and lower your torso right down to your mat. And your forehead will settle onto your mat and your feet untucked. Now, as you're down, I want you to take your hands behind your back. And let's just interweave the funny way. Your fingers are interwoven. Press the tops of your feet down to charge up your thighs. Almost like your tailbone is reaching to the back of the mat. We're going to do 3 baby cobras. So in breath, move your chest forward and lifting your forehead off the mat. Not very far. This is our first one. Hugging in all 4 sides of your waist and then softly melting down. Again, in breath, lifting. Not a sense of achieving how high I can lift as a goal, more of what feels right. And then down. And as you know, you can always keep your forehead settled onto the mat, just your fingers back. Okay. One more time. Lifting, extending your torso, floating to whichever height. Legs activated, heart open. And then exhale, softly melt down. And place your hands by the side of your ribs. And let's all travel back into child's pose. So press your palms down. Back into child's pose. Your toes together, your knees apart. Now I'm going to give you guys some options here. We're going to travel from here back into downward facing dog. If child's pose feels right, then stay this way. Your forehead can rest onto a firm block or one fist or the other. Or perhaps shifting your weight forward to take yourselves up into downward facing dog. So just which feels right today. This is our mellow Hatha yoga. So just find whichever position feels right. Keep your body long. Now, if you're in child's pose, stay in child's pose. If you're in downward facing dog, walk forward to the front of the mat. So we can do the exact same thing in child's pose or the folded forward. Now, whichever variation that you're at, walk your hands over towards the left. Let's give a little bit of lengthening. If you're folded forward, your hands can be onto firm blocks or on towards your fingers. And then change directions. So hands back to center and then over the opposite side. And then walk your hands to center and I get everybody to go back into child's pose. So if you're already there, you can stay in child's pose. If you're not, shift yourselves back. Lowering your sitting bones as close to your heels as feels comfortable and gives the extension. But I want everybody's arms to be completely passive. So there's no effort. This is a lovely resting. Shift yourselves forward and up, back into a table pose. So you have the option of using the firm blocks or not. All we're going to do is take that left leg forward into a lunge. Okay. So as you know, towards the lunge, the verticals of your front shin and back toes untucked. And as it's a hip flexor, sometimes just almost walking your front toes a little farther forward to smooth out your hip flexor. And then everybody place hands onto the knee and press your knee down to lift yourselves up. Now, if there's any discomfort on your back, then just keep your hands on your firm blocks, then vertical. So just find which option. Now, with your back extended leg, I want you to ensure that your big toe is pressing down to center. And then you choose the height. So your hands onto the firm block, or palms on towards your thighs, or perhaps palms together at heart center. Whichever variation that you're at, lift your shoulders up, slide it back, and descend down. So always just encouraging that opening across the chest. So often, as you know, our chest seems to collapse. So just keeps ourselves with our chest broad and proud. Place your hands down onto your mat And I want you to take your left foot to the outer edge of your mat. Okay. So the outer knife of your edge is onto the mat, and your hands will be below your shoulders. We're going to do a twist. Options are you keep your hand onto the mat or maybe onto a firm block, and place your left hand onto your left knee and press your knee away and twist your body to the side. So a little bit of a twist. And lots of options. You can keep your hand onto your knee, maybe placing your hand onto your sacrum, maybe lifting it up towards the sky. Whichever position that it's at that gives you that opening and extension without putting any strain. Unwind. We're going to go into lizard pose. So still keeping your foot out. You can have your hands, actually this is sometimes really nice, to have your hands onto your firm blocks at whichever height, and slowly lower yourselves down. So again, they can be onto vertical, your hands there for support, but really encouraging the opening of your knee out towards the side. And close your eyes. And so right hip flexion is already long. And how's your breath? Breath in into the moment, and breath out in the moment. So Liz is quite deep, so let's come out. So just bring your knee back up as much as you can to take your foot back, your knee down, and slowly rock your hips side to side. And then we'll change sides. So this time, just take your opposite foot forward and settling all four sides of your foot down. Just a reminder, your knee is not past your ankle. You've got that verticalness. Hands onto the firm blocks, or perhaps your hands onto your knee. Whichever variation, pressing down to lift your torso up. So you have that growing through the front of your torso. And then whichever variation, bring your palms together at heart center, knee, or on towards the floor. Breath is full. And so your tailbone down towards the mat, crown of your head up. Are your shoulders soft? So really keeping them nicely settled down. Growing. Sometimes the front of the body, even growing from the connection of your left knee, growing up your thigh, your hip flexor, continue with the ascending right up to the sky. And then place your hands down either onto the firm blocks or mat. And this time walk your front foot towards the outer edge of the mat with your hands below your shoulders. This just allows that neutralizing of the hips. And then your hand onto a firm block or floor. This time twist towards your front knee. So again, your hand can direct your knee away. And then choosing. Perhaps your hand staying onto your knee gives you that support. Perhaps on towards your sacrum, maybe up towards the sky. Giving that encouragement of the lifting and turning at the right side or left side of your body, but don't put in any strain. This isn't, as I said, it's not an achievement. It's more of an opportunity for the opening and listening to your body. And then let's all slowly unwind. And as you have both hands planted down, whichever height, opening of your knee towards the side. So again, the sole of your foot can be off your mat. And your breath is full. As you guys know, one side can be a little bit tighter than the other. So lizard's quite a deep pose. So just sort of find that opening, but without putting in any of the strain. And then let's come up. So draw your knee in, take your foot back, and give yourselves a little bit of that shaken. we're going to go from here into folded forward. So let's actually have your hands in your firm blocks if you choose. So with your hands pressing down into your firm blocks, tuck your toes under and lift your knees up. And then once you're into downward dog, just walk your feet forward. So you'll be folded forward at the front of the mat and choose. Holding onto opposite elbow, opposite than what you did before, and either your forearms onto your above your knees or below. Holding onto opposite elbow, take yourselves to that lovely rocking. Side to side. And then place your hands onto your hips and hinge yourselves to standing upright. Shake, 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 shake. So I want you to have your two firm blocks at the front of the mat. And I'm going to get you to have them vertical. You can always lower it down. We're going to go into warrior one. So have them at the front outer edge of the mat. And just into this pose of simplicity, step your left foot back about 2/3 of the way. Make sure your toes are front corner of the mat and your front knee forward. So just with your hands assisting moving forward for warrior one. Hands onto your hips, press your hips down to stand a little taller. And let's all bring palms together at heart center. So again, still directing the front of your body back, but shoulders down. From here, palms together, lift them up towards the sky. So your elbows might be slightly bent or extended. But what I want you to do is take your thumbs to the back of your head. So we're going into a reverse prayer. So allow that lengthening through your back of your upper arms. Still tailbone down, maybe your gaze up. Called Warrior One, Virabhadrasana 1. Just make sure that all four sides of your front foot as well as your back foot is grounded. So your front knee is bent, not past your ankle, but allowing that, pressing your foot down, lifting of your body, extending of your back leg. And then lift your arms back up to vertical, shoulder distance apart. Keep them vertical and straighten your front leg. We're going to go down into pyramid pose. So reach your arms forward, 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 and place them down onto the firm blocks. So with your hands onto the firm blocks, it just gives you a support to make sure you have the alignment. Front leg is straight, and I want you to perhaps lower down a little farther with the firm blocks. And allow the ease. So as we're folded forward, take your right thumb into your right hip flexor and tuck them back. So as you're taking your right hip flexors back, your hips become more neutral, and it's more direct lengthening at the center, the back of your hamstrings. Just make sure your back heel stays tucked down. So there can always be a little bit of a soft bending of your front knee if you're feeling the strain. But it's lovely with the firm blocks, giving yourselves the opportunity of extension of your leg and the support of your hands. So there's not a dropping. Instead of reaching down towards the mat, almost feel like the mat is lifting up towards you with the assistance of the blocks or not. Let's all have a complete breath in. Let's do a sigh on your exhale. Lovely lengthening of the back of our legs. And part of our legs that always seem to shorten. So I want us all to bend front knee. Keep your hands holding onto the firm blocks and bring yourselves into standing upright. And we're just going to change sides. So turn your toes to the side of the mat. And we're just going to pivot. So your toes now towards the back of the mat. And just place the firm blocks down. So again, the adjustment that your back toes point towards the front corner of the mat. A little bit of bending and straightening of your knee. Just to ensure that you're steering your bent knee towards your second toe. Back leg is fired up. and bring your palms together at heart center. And so you have full surface of your right hand to your left, almost like there's a mirror, and then slowly lifting up. So you're allowing that lifting assistance of lifting your floating ribs and then bending of your elbows to the back of your head, or whichever variation. Just make sure your chest doesn't puff forward. It's more growing up and lengthening. Just as your back extended leg is long, see if you can direct that up to the lengthening of your torso and the extension right towards your elbows. Are you breathing? Breathing and enjoying. See if you can breathe into the tightness of your muscles. It's that nourishment. Now, bring your arms up to vertical, straight and strong. Do the same, straightening of your front leg. Feel like there's almost a strap across your hip flexors that are going to tug you back as you reach your hands forward and softly landing onto the firm blocks, again, whichever height. Now, to ensure that your hips are neutral, this time take your right thumb, direct your right hip flexor back, and then your hands settle down into pyramid pose. It's called Parsvakonasana. And as you know, the pyramid have no bends in it. So really encouraging both of your legs to be extended, and your arms the support. So if you're finding that your elbows are quite bent, then you can just lower the firm blocks to a different level or right towards the floor, whatever feels right. And enjoy. So keep yourselves folded as you are, but take your firm blocks, again, up to the vertical. And what I want you to do is walk yourselves to face to the side of the mat and have your toes pointing towards the side of the mat. Okay. So we're just into the V. So we're going to start with speed skating. Okay. So your toes towards the side of the mat, bend your left knee and give more extension through the inner crease of your right leg. And then change sides. So just gently moving back and forth. Now I'm going to give you guys variation with this one. If this feels great, just stay like this. Or perhaps the bending of your left knee and externally rotating of your right foot. And then come back to center. Straightening of your left foot. So your right knee is bent, maybe lifting of your toes up. And then just change sides. So swaying back and forth, or maybe keeping your feet planted on the floor. And if you're doing the lunge, if your knees are really happy, you can lower yourselves all the way down. Still having the support. Just feels what your legs are happy with. So even just keeping your feet rooted, swaying side to side, perfect. Putting the movement to this forward fold. Whichever variation. And then as you're ready, bring yourselves back to stillness. And I want your head to just hang down. So as I said, you can have your firm blocks, whichever height, and your head just to hang. And that's all. Full breath in. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I release. Whichever height you're at, I want you to shift so that your right hand is directly below your head. And then take your left hand and place it onto your sacrum. Okay, so your hands are onto the sacrum to encourage it to stay neutral, and then slowly twist towards the left side. So variations, you keep your hand onto your sacrum, maybe up towards the sky. If you lift it up towards the sky, look to ensure it's completely vertical. If you can't quite see it, then keep your hand on your sacrum, encouraging the turning of the torso, even a little bit of your shoulder blades together, but without pushing to the point that you're not directing the stretching of the back of the legs and your inner thighs. And then let's change sides. So this time, place your left hand down exactly where your right one was. Right hand onto your sacrum. You've got your tray of champagne. We're going to keep it balanced there and slowly turn your torso the opposite. So the left side of your ribs scoop under, so your chest opens. And again, hand can stay onto the sacrum or up towards the sky. If they're not up towards the sky, then just keep your hand onto your sacrum. Mine definitely doesn't lift on this side. And so really caring, so you've got the opening, but without putting any strain. Because if there's a strain on one joint, then the other one's tightened, almost to protect. And then let's all wind and let's all go down into child's pose. So walk your hands out. Take your knees down, toes together. Again, your head can rest onto a firm block. As you know, you can have a blanket underneath your shins. I didn't say this before. You can always have a blanket behind the back of your knees. And I want this to be a very passive child's pose. Actually, let's go with this child's pose. Your arms are forward, but turn your palms up. So giving yourselves that space between the inner edges of your shoulder blades sliding away from your spine. It's got that opening, but without your chest collapsing. Okay, walk your hands back to bring yourselves into sitting upright. We're going to go into deer pose. So if you're not familiar with deer pose, we have a few new arrivals. I'm going to get you in deer pose. You're going to think about this. I want you to take your right shin to run parallel with the front short end of the mat. Okay, so you've got that length. At the same time, your back shin running along the side of the mat. So you have your lovely zigzag. If you prefer pigeon pose, you can do that. And then your firm blocks in front of you. So if the landing of your right hip isn't as happy, you can place it onto your blanket or your pillow. So I want you to have this complete zigzag. And then with your hands on your firm blocks, press them down to lift your body up. So you're extending of your torso. And then just fold forward onto those firm blocks. Again, firm blocks, whichever position. Now, if there's discomfort to your back hip flexor, you can take your back knee a little farther forward. But just encouraging. So we're all doing it together, but Celia, have you been practicing Ekapada Raja Kapottanasana? The opening. And then your head just hangs. And so as your head hangs, I want you to allow each layer of your muscles throughout your legs, throughout your hip, to just release. You can enjoy the sigh to release. And then your in-breath is breathing into every cell of your body. The importance. Okay. I want you to slowly bring yourselves up. And we're going to go into fire log. So your back leg, I want you to take it forward so that you're sitting with your legs crossed. Now, if this is uncomfortable, you can lie down onto your back to go to thread the needle. So I think everybody has your legs crossed. So as we're into this pose, you have one shin in front of the other. I want you to pop your buttocks a little farther back. So you've got more space between your inner thighs. Okay. And then, sometimes firm blocks are nice. Lift your arms up to vertical. So you're encouraging the lengthening of your torso. Fly forward and either your hands or your forearms onto those firm blocks. Now, it's quite deep. Full breath in. Complete breath out. So feeling it through your hips, also your hip flexor. And just see if you can allow your knees to softly settle. And if you're in thread the needle, no, we have no thread. Okay. I'm not going to hold it very long. It is quite deep. Ensure that you're caring for your knees. Sometimes it's not as much of a challenge crossing of your knees or crossing one shin in front of the other. But by having your shins a little farther forward, just make sure it's not feeding in discomfort. Okay. Bring yourselves back up. And place your firm blocks by the side of your mat. And then actually take your heels in a little bit more. So it's more of a closed cross leg. And we always have to do a little bit of core. So, legs crossed as they are. Take your palms onto your firm blocks by the side of your hips. I think some of you have done this before. Okay, we're going to do a push-up. So first, lift your shoulders up, back, and down. Okay. Now, press down the firm blocks, straighten up your arms, and take your sitting bones off the ground. So you're lifting of your core. You're right off the mat. Nice. And then slowly settle down. You have the option to keep your hands on your firm blocks or on towards the floor. You choose. But your hands are by the side of your hips. So again, press your hands down. As you press them down, your sitting bones will lift. So it's almost like a little bit of collapsing of your chest to draw your shoulders in and lift. Lift, lift, lift. And settle down. Okay, we'll do it again. That was our warm-up. But we're first going to go into deer pose on the other side. Okay, so this time your opposite shin runs along the front short end of the mat. Your back shin along the side of the mat. And we're going to fold down. So as with always, lift your arms up so you're getting that extension and then fly forward and down. Your firm blocks onto whichever height. Now I didn't say this before. When you're folded forward, if it's a little bit too much folding forward over your shin, you can fold a little bit more so over the front of your front corner of your extended front leg, or I guess the front leg's bent. So just sort of find that place that's got the opening. And it's just a different variation of pigeon pose. A little bit more kind on your knees. But if you're feeling more of an opening and you prefer pigeon pose, then you can travel into that as well. Just make sure, if you're into deer pose, make sure your feet are flexed. And if you've chosen to go into pigeon pose, your extended back leg, slide it forward to almost a little bit more assistance of plugging your hip into or your thigh bone into your hip socket. Whichever way, legs are aligned and open and enjoying the fullness. And just see with each of your exhales, your muscles can become not gripping of your bones, just more sort of resting together. And just notice how there's more ease through your head, your neck, the ease through your thighs, and how it just allows a little bit more releasing of the tightness. And often in the pose, throughout the time holding the pose, slowly, a little bit more softening, lowering farther down. But if you're finding the tightness, then just back yourselves off a little bit. Go more to an angle, or Keeping your forearms a little higher up. Okay. All come up and cross your back shin over your front. Take ourselves into fire log and Jisthambasana. Hands just to tuck your sitting bones a little farther back. And we're just going to do a little bit of the fold. So you do thread the needle if this position is feeling more strain than release. Arms drop, body extends, and then hinge. Hinge yourselves forward with your forearms settling onto the firm blocks, whichever height. Now, it can be quite deep, so breathe into that tight spot. So the breath doesn't go there, but allow that direction for the ease so that on your exhale, those tight layers, the tightness of the muscles, perhaps they're gripping to the bones, you can just have more of a more friendly connection. Your head hangs. Okay, we'll come out and we'll do a few more push-ups. So bring your heels in, your knees a little bit closer towards your chest, your firm blocks by your side, or if you're feeling very light, you can not have your firm blocks there. Okay, so have your hands right by the side of your hips. Straighten your arms down and just lift yourselves up. If you're doing so, slightly directing your tailbone to scoop under to give you that lift. And see if you can do a soft landing, just like airplanes. Soft, smooth landings. Okay. Hands press down, arms straighten, lift up. Tailbone scoops under. Maybe you can have your feet float. You just figure out, but breathe. So as we got this compression, full breath in, breathing into every cell of your body. And an exhale, again, that lovely soft landing back down to the mat. I'm going to get you to roll down onto your back. Have your blanket by your side, either behind the back of your head or by your side for the lovely Shavasana when we move into Shavasana. Okay, draw your knees in towards your chest. A little bit of slow movement. Side to side. And then I'm going to get you to keep your knees bent. We're going to do a body twist. So if you have your firm blocks, sometimes, I should have said this before, to have them onto your left side. Now in the body twist, that back surface of your shoulder blades stays settled. Your knees are bent, your thighs vertical, and just softly draw your knees over towards the side. So if you're feeling any discomfort of the turning of your lower spine, then keep your feet on the outer edges of the mat and just drop your knees one side. If your knees, your hips feel comfortable with this, your torso, then just have either your knees, your legs right onto the floor or on towards the firm block. But just do a little checking that the full surface of the back of your shoulder blades are resting onto your mat. The lovely twisting. It's a nice release of any tightness that's built up through spine. And yeah, let's all full breath in. Sigh on your exhale. It's almost like your exhale is a blanket of ease. Keep your shoulders grounded and softly draw your knees back together. If your feet are on the mat, keep them on the mat. Maybe wanting to move your firm blocks to the other side if you used it, because we're going to twist over towards the right. So just moving whichever support that need be. So outer edges of your feet and the outer edge of the mat to sway, or with your knees together, twisting over towards the right. And settling, trying to say the middle of the thoracic part of your ribs, your spine, and just a turning through your lower thoracic part of your spine, your lumbar, just the turning, whichever feels right. And just ensure, whichever variation that you're at, your body can be at complete ease. So your eyes are closed, allow them to sink deep. And have you have that soft sealing of your eyelids. It's the same, the soft sealing of your lips. For the body twist. Get you to slowly bring yourselves back up to center. Hands onto your knees. And moving of your knees forward, back, side to side. We're going to get ourselves ready for Shavasana. So if there's a pose you want to do, if you enjoy doing happy baby, holding onto the outer edges of your feet, maybe a little bit more rocking side to side, whichever way to release, and then take your legs down. So again, if you have a blanket, you can drape your blanket over the top of your body. And then once you're finally lying down for Shavasana, do a little scanning of the body. So the back surface of your ribs onto your mat. Your legs are long. If there's discomfort, you can keep your knees softly bent. Your feet are at ease. And the tightness that often builds between our eyebrows, allow it to smooth out. Just as we iron out our hip flexors, iron out the tightness that arrives between, even as if the outer end of your shoulder blade, or of your eyebrows, slide apart. And blending together with your breath, the coolness of your breath in, and the releasing of your breath out. How it feels and how it sounds. Your breath is your movement. Your breath is your music. keeping the smoothness, your skin on your face, keep it smooth and soft, and draw your breath a little deeper. Gives you an awareness. And as it feels right, slow movements of your toes and your fingers, keeping your breath sweet and pure. Any movement that you need, please do. Eventually, as you're ready, roll over onto your right side. And so as you lay onto your right side, your knees into your chest, your head resting onto your right upper arm. And just direct a few breaths into the back of your body, taking the weight of your body off your back. And softly press your left hand down to bring yourselves into sitting in a position of comfort. If you have a blanket, keep it over your lap. Your legs can be crossed or extended, and just settle your palms onto your knees. And sitting really tall and proud. Bring your palms together and snuggle into your chest bone. And then the soft bowing of your head and the enjoying of your breath. And breathe in. I know I'm breathing in. And breathe out. I know I'm breathing out. Breathing in, my breath goes deep. Breathe my breath out, smooth and slowly. Breathe in with a smile and breathe out with ease. I wish you namaste.